Hello, everyone, and happy World Trenchless Day, and welcome to today's installment of the Trenchless Technology Roundtable webcast series. My name is Mike Kesdy. I'm the managing editor of Trenchless Technology and Trenchless Technology Canada magazines, and I'm pleased to moderate today's webcast, a World Trenchless Day celebration. We're going to take a quick poll, so please submit your answer and then click the blue Return to Presentation button. As a reminder, any views or opinions presented in this webcast are solely those of the presenters and do not necessarily represent those of Benjamin Media Inc., the publisher of Trenchless Technology, nor does Benjamin Media Inc. endorse any products or methods presented. I'd like to thank today's sponsors, Applied Felts, Q's, IPEX, MaxLiner, and the NASTT No-Dig Show. At the end of today's panel discussion, at approximately 3 p.m. Eastern, we're going to announce the 2022 Trenchless Technology Project of the Year winners, and we'll view a special World Trenchless Day video tribute. On behalf of the team at Trenchless Technology, I'd like to thank everyone for taking part in today's webcast. World Trenchless Day was created in 2016 to promote the benefits of trenchless technologies across the globe. With that in mind, we've assembled a panel of system owners to discuss the successes, challenges, and benefits they have discovered regarding the use of trenchless technologies. Joining us today are Shu He, Manager of Engineering for Public Works for the York region in Ontario, Canada, Trino Pedraza, Director of Public Works and Utilities for the City of Galveston, Texas, and Webb Winston, Principal Engineer and Subject Matter Expert for Trenchless Installations at Williams. Since this is a live panel discussion, there are no slides for the presentation. So if you'd like to expand your view, click on the arrows in the lower right of the video box to enter your full screen view. We also want this to be an interactive webcast, so we encourage you to participate in real time by typing your questions into the designated panel in the left-hand portion of your screen. And to get things started, I think it's probably best to just do a quick overview. So I'd like everybody to introduce themselves, describe your role, how long you've been involved in the underground infrastructure, trenchless industry, and then also describe your underground infrastructure network, its condition, age, type of pipes, etc. We'll start with you, Shu.
Thanks, Mike. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Shu He, Manager of Engineering with the Regional Municipality of York. We call it York Region. York Region is a regional municipality in southern Ontario, Canada, and located between Lake Simcoe and Sept, Toronto. Basically across the northern border of Toronto. And the region consists of 9 local municipalities, and with a total population of 1.2 million people. And this is one of the fastest growing community in Canada. So York Region is a 2-tier municipality where York Region provides a bulk water supply to the local municipalities for distribution and collects and conveys wastewater for treatment and before discharging to the receiving water bodies. So the York Region was formulated in the we receive some existing infrastructure from the province of Ontario, which was constructed from 1950s through 1980s and transferred to the York Region in the late 1990s. So basically that's the system we have. Currently, the York Region owns and operates approximately 260 kilometers of trunk sewer and 360 kilometers trunk water mains and almost 150 kilometers of sanitary force mains. And generally, region's infrastructure, all these infrastructure are in fair to good conditions. And I want to stop here and hand over to either Webb or Trino.
Yeah, Trino, why don't we hit the city of Galveston, give a brief intro of yourself as well as your system.
Well, hello, my name is Trino Pedraza. I'm the Public Works and Utilities Director for the City of Galveston. Under my responsibility is all of public works for the City of Galveston: streets, traffic, drainage, everything water, everything wastewater. We are an island separated from Texas, surrounded by water, about 50 miles south of Houston. Our underground infrastructure is comprised of about 110 miles of drainage pipe. We have about 450 miles of water pipe, approximately 410 miles of sewer pipe. Our water comes from Gulf Coast Water Authority. It is purchased wholesale. It is treated surface water. On our island, we have multiple wastewater treatment plants, multiple pump stations, and we have a population of approximately 52 to 53,000 people. However, we're a massive tourist island, and we can see as much as 250,000 people on any given day running through this island. And I'll stop there.
Great, thanks. And Webb, why don't you wrap up this question? You're kind of unique
Sure.
on this panel.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. No, thanks for having me here. So Webb Winston with Williams Pipeline. We are a clean energy company here in the United States. I'm based out of the Houston, Texas office. My role is a subject matter expert over trenchless pipeline installations for our system. And our system consists of about 30,000 plus miles of pipe across 26 states, all in the U.S. Pretty much stretches border to border and coast to coast, but it's just 26 states, and it's primarily natural gas pipeline systems. So we as a company transport approximately 30% of the natural gas that's consumed in the U.S. each day. And those assets consist of midstream gathering pipelines that bring the product from the well pad to ultimately some pretty extensive transmission line assets like the transcontinental gas pipeline, as well as the Northwest pipeline system that transports it to the end users to some major metropolitan areas. So as an internal subject matter expert over trenchless, I'm involved with most, if not all, of our trenchless installations we do as a company. And been with Williams for going on 11 years now. And before Williams, I worked in the engineering consulting world, focused on trenchless installations. So I'm happy to see a World Trenchless Day here and happy to be a part of some of the events here. So thanks, Mike.
Well, thank you. Thank you again, all three of you, for agreeing to participate and providing your insight today. Obviously, you hear a lot about underground infrastructure issues, of late. Obviously, the systems aren't getting any younger. They're constantly aging. So what are some of the unique challenges your system presents in terms of maintenance and upgrades? We'll start with you, Webb. I don't know how much of that information, you're mostly on the new install side of things, but, if you have some of that info handy.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, on our system, we're very heavily focused on emissions reduction. We have large company goals, large initiatives involved with reducing emissions. And that's probably the biggest thing we're focused on right now. And we're very successful in a lot of the things we're doing. But to your point, Mike, about trenchless, one of the things heavily involved in the new build, we're obviously building new assets, trying to serve new markets. We're trying to get natural gas to areas that so desperately need the service. But we also, in our system, we have some assets that were built in the 1940s. And if you think about it, a lot of these assets that were built, let's say, almost 80 years ago now, a lot of these assets crossed rivers, they crossed streams, they crossed areas that when trenchless was not really a common way of crossing those features, it was open cut or laid on the river bottom in various instances. And what we see with a lot of the weather events, a lot of the impacts, things that have happened over the past 80 years, some of those pipes maybe become exposed over time where you have assets that need to be replaced. Trenchless is a tremendous method that we use to fix these assets, replace them, put them deeper without getting in these features and disturbing some of the sediment beds. It's just something that we leverage very extensively, and it's just a tool. The tools that are included in the trenchless toolbox are very important to our assets, Mike.
Great, thanks. And Shu, why don't we go north of the border and talk a little bit about some of the challenges your system faces up there in Canada?
Okay, I see 3 areas of challenges in York Region's water and wastewater systems. And so when we inherited it from the province, the entire system from the province, and with the older part, this is the older part of the infrastructure of the York Region, are mainly located and adjacent to the environmentally sensitive areas, meandering along the valleys and watercourses. But in terms of the design, it's a genius design, follow the gravity, right? Today, with the stringent environmental constraints, and this can be a huge challenge for maintenance and upgrades in terms of accessibility as well as environmental protection. And on top of that, and we have to do we need a bypass pumping in order to perform our work. This is one of the challenges. Another challenge I can see here is the pipe material. I would say 90% of the York Region system is concrete pipe. The old concrete pipes have not been lined or manufactured with today's special additives, right? They are very susceptible to hydrogen sulfide corrosion, and over the years this is happening and eating away the concrete pipe. This is where our lining and rehabilitation programs come into play to ensure that the impact is mitigated. The third challenge I can see is about the York Region's water mains, and more than 95% of the region's water mains are concrete pipe, and they are huge because York Regions, I just said, is a 2-tier municipality. York Region is providing box service, and we don't have much redundancy in the system. Every time we inspect, repair the water mains, it's a significant challenge for us to maintain the level of service, and as well as it's hard to find the inspection technologies that can operate in live flows. That can be very difficult to launch and retrieve. That's what I see the challenges I can see. Okay.
Great, thank you. And Trino, same question. What are some of the challenges that are unique to your system in terms of your maintenance and upgrades?
So, one thing about Galveston, it's a very, very old island, very old city. It's very rich in history. And we have piping infrastructure that is extremely old, well beyond the 40s. And in some cases, very deep, because at one point in the history of Galveston, this island was rocked with a massive hurricane, the hurricane of the 1900s. And part of the recovery effort was dredging in quite a bit of sand to raise the island approximately 10 feet or so. And restoring some of the pipes during that time, well, they probably buried them 5 feet from that depth and then raised the island 10 feet. And so now we're down 15 feet in some of these cases, 20 feet in other cases. Now, the infrastructure is old. And as I mentioned, we are surrounded by water. We have pipes that come across bridges. We have pipes that travel under the bay, that travel under ship channels, that travel under bayous. And so that's not something you can open cut repair to begin with. And then because our island is surrounded by water and it's flat and low to the ground, you only have to dig 1 foot to 1.5 feet. And now you're surrounded by groundwater, which requires nearly every piece of open trench repair to go through a dewatering effort, setting well points and getting the soils dry enough so that it's safe enough for people to even work in. And because of that high groundwater and the age, you have challenges on the sanitary sewer side with a ton of inflow and infiltration that needs to be dealt with. Otherwise, you overcome your wastewater treatment plants, which is the capacity issues from the inflow and infiltration will lead to like busting your permit requirements and whatnot. And then in addition, you're just treating groundwater, you're treating bay water, Gulf water. And so that's not a good practice, for our groups. That's a challenge. And then the same with the water. A lot of it's old. We have cast iron pipe, duct iron pipe, different styles of old PVC that all needs to be dealt with, different various sizes that have changed through the age. And so, bringing in different trenchless technologies to solve a lot of these issues becomes key here, especially in places where I've worked before, where in some cases it makes sense, in other cases it didn't. Here, a lot of those didn'ts make sense here. And I'll stop.
Okay. You're talking. Well, we'll stay with you, Trino. You're talking about these trenchless technologies make sense. So, when did you first learn about trenchless technologies, or maybe not you specifically, but when did Galveston first start looking at and employing trenchless technologies?
So I don't know when Galveston first started employing trenchless technologies. They had a little bit here when I got here, and I started here in February of 2020. But I previously had been in the hill country. I'd worked in San Antonio water system, and I'd worked for New Braunfels Utilities, and I really became interested in trenchless technology back in 2009, where we came across several challenges of decayed pipe under railroad tracks that we could not fix, and we needed to figure out a way to take care of it. And we began to speak with different contractors of what can we do. And it was at that time that I got introduced to cured in place pipe. And we had used a product that was a UV cured product. I believe that back then, I think the product, the company was called Reline America, I think. And it went well. And during that time, we also saw that we had some failing manholes, and then we used some other products, I think spray wall, spray rock, to restore them. And that was a big moment for me to see happen. And I began to try to figure out where could I use all these types of technologies, and then what else is out there, right? What else, what goes beyond that? And as I started to learn, I came across conferences, different underground construction conferences, and then I realized that, there's plenty of work at the utility level for contractors and for the employees. And we really began to wonder, why can't we do some of this? And so while at New Braunfels Utilities, we began to teach ourselves how to do some of these particular technologies. And as a utility, we lined in-house 40,000 feet of pipe using in situ form materials. And we learned how to reinstate the laterals. And we also began to learn how to line manholes, as well as like different inspection condition assessment technologies. And so coming over to Galveston, that experience has served us well, because what we've, coming with that experience, I was able to speak to why we should be doing some of this. Small pieces like pipe patches and Q's locks we use, and then growing into bigger things, pipe bursting and slip lining. And so like here, we've had some very big challenges that we've had to overcome, and we've used many different technologies. For example, we were boring a water line under a bayou, and the as-builts for the infrastructure that was already under the bayou were 20 years old and were incorrect. And so we ended up hitting a major force main under the bayou, and we ended up having to shut that lift station down and figure out a whole bypass mechanism. Repairing a force main that is 40 feet under the ground in the middle of a bayou is a challenge, right? And that's where like different types of technologies come in. And in that case, I believe we slip lined that. We put through HDPE pipe, and we lost some of our capacity, but we were able to overcome that and then finish the job with our water line. In other cases, we've used cured in place pipe to do patchwork or renewal of some lines. We've used pipe bursting to make some of our older lines bigger and renewed, and we've used quite a bit of different like manhole restoration technologies, not just rebuilding from the inside, but then even changing the lid types from like cast iron to different types of composite lids.
Wow, it's a lot of trenchless work, and it's great that you were able to bring that over to the city of Galveston and take a look at it, given the location of Galveston, some of the challenges that you faced. Yeah. What about you, Shu? When did you first learn about trenchless technologies and get involved with them?
Myself, I get involved in the trenchless technology almost 20 years ago when I joined municipal service, and including cement lining, CIPP lining. After I joined the region, I started to deal with the major repair of the trunk stores. Perhaps the CCTV inspection is the first trenchless technology that the York region has started in 1980s, right? Over the years that we continue to explore the opportunities of using trenchless technologies for rehabilitation and new construction. And basically, we try to keep abreast of the development of the industry. And for rehabilitation, and it is from project to project, right? We use the cured in place pipelining and the sprayed in place lining and the slip lining. And that's basically we use even as we speak, I'm doing a geopolymer spray and a hose pipe slip lining on a couple of major capital projects. And for new installation, and we know the older style for tunnel is the steel rib and legging. That's in old days. And in recent years, we have been using earth pressure balance machine and horizontal directional drilling. Most recently, I think micro tunneling is more competitive in regions projects. And actually, we did quite a few micro tunneling projects in the last few years, and with the longest drive I can see is a 1.2 meter curved drive, which is quite significant in the micro tunnel. I stop here.
And Webb, when did you first get introduced to trenchless technologies?
Yeah, so myself, Mike, I actually interned. I met some great gentlemen with a consulting company, and I interned out of college focusing on geotechnical investigations as well as HDD or horizontal directional drilling, feasibility and design. And, had the privilege of being mentored and training under some just great guys, and fell in love with the method and never looked back. And once the more I learned and the more I could get exposed to, the more that I got involved with, kind of the more addicted, so to speak, I became. And I've seen it evolve a lot over the years, right? I've seen it come around. So it's just been great for me personally in my career, and have a lot of gratitude and appreciation to a lot of the great mentors and people that I've been exposed to. If I look at the company, Williams, for instance, like I said, I've only been here 11 years, but trenchless method installations were done way before I got here, just like some of the other gentlemen said. If I think about pipelining construction historically, your traditional road bore method was a very common method kind of in the mid 19th 1900s, if you will. So I'd say probably the first trenchless methods that were employed on our system were done by that. As horizontal directional drilling, or HDD, kind of came about in the 1970s and started becoming more common and popular for major river crossings, that it started being used to construct some of the systems, let's say in the 80s and going into the 90s. And then I look at that now, HDD, horizontal directional drilling, is still a very common method that we use, very successful method. But we've even evolved into, on our larger diameter natural gas pipeline systems, using a method called direct pipe. So if you kind of looked at it on a timeline, we've seen these methods kind of come along over the decades. And now direct pipe's just another tool in the toolbox that we employ after we do an evaluation and find out that it may be the most feasible or suitable method for the crossing. And now we're making that toolbox bigger, and we're able to have more methods to cross these features. So I'd say dating back to road bore, right? If you talk to a lot of the old pipeliners, road bore was the way that roads were crossed. And that's what we would call jack and bore or horizontal auger bore type method. But it's been rewarding to watch the industry evolve and come about and continue to get better and continue to find better ways to do these crossings.
Great, thanks. And as a reminder to the audience, if you have any questions for the panel, go ahead and ask them in the question pane. We'll try to get those answered. Webb, staying with you, kind of piggybacking off what you just said. Where does trenchless technology fit into the system? When looking at the various methods available, what decisions are made internally where you're like, well, this should be an HDD and this should be a direct pipe. This could be, auger board, or when can we do open cut? How are those decisions made?
Yeah, no, great question. And I think that's something that the industry does a really good job with. I think there's a lot of talented people in the industry that really focus on doing those things the right way. But I also think, we can improve. I think we can always get better on those methods. I'll speak, on our system specifically. I think when we first start looking at a route or start looking at whatever the task is at hand, we need to do something from point A to point B. I think one of the things we've learned is all options are on the table, right? I think sometimes people make the mistake of having a foregone conclusion before you start really looking into what all goes into the project. And so if you look at it just with an unbiased perspective and just say, let's say all options, open cut is an effective pipeline installation method, in the right place, right? As well as there's a toolbox of trenchless methods that can be employed that maybe you'll find the best method for the crossing if you don't immediately go into it thinking what the right method is before you kind of consider all the options. So it's somewhat of an evaluation or a process that we've developed on our system internally to kind of keep both eyes wide open, so to speak, to say, hey, let's look at this task and let's look at each crossing. One of the things we've seen over the past few years is regulations and opposition have become increasingly more difficult. And I don't really say that like that's a bad thing. Like, I don't say that like, that I hate that. It's fine, right? We want to do the right thing. I think what's challenging is when we see that target is moving and we can't really tell, what the right ways to go about it to solve the problem. And right. So I think, as that target keeps moving, we're having to continue to get better. We're having to continue to improve our execution. And I think that's a good thing, right? I think we can all get better. I think we can all strive to be better. And that's something that we look at and really have to kind of look at our process and make sure that it's up to date and continuing to change based on when regulations change or when different requirements start changing. So.
Great. And Trino, same question to you. And you discussed this briefly in your last answer as well. How do you make the decision on what trenchless methods to use on a given project?
Well, kind of piggybacking off of like what Webb said, the one thing that's important for all of us as leaders is you have to understand that it's not one size fits all. Right, you have you have this large toolbox of condition assessment equipment. You have this large toolbox of different methods and mechanisms to take care of a lot of these issues. And in reality, for the most part, we look at the area that we're in, we look at the scenario that we've come across, and then we will compare, what the actual need is. For example, for example, I had given a description of a force main that was hit under a bayou, and it was inundated with water. The pipe was inundated with water from the puncture, and we were never going to be able to get it anywhere near dry. So in an aspect, in that mindset, you already know you can't really use cured in place pipe because you have to get it somewhat dry, right? Or you'll destroy the curing process. Then you have to look at a different mechanism. Can we slip line it? Can we pipe burst it? What is the cost difference? What is the pro versus the con of either? And then you make the decision that is best for that scenario. We do the same when it comes to the way we treat, some of our manholes. In some areas, our manholes are fine. They have a little bit of damage. They're fine, but they have a lot of seepage coming in. And in some areas, that seepage is large enough to cause capacity issues. So you have to touch up the walls. Maybe you can use a mortar or a cementitious type material. But if the groundwater is your problem there and it's somewhat structurally sound, then you want to build like a curtain around it using, different chemical grout injections and whatnot. Where in other places, it might be highly corrosive and you might need to do a full rebuild using different technologies. So we look at it on a case-by-case basis, and we do so the same with water pipe, and we do so the same with the materials that will be on the surface as far as the manhole ring and covers. What are we going to use in this spot? What's more beneficial? One of the things that recently we've been talking about it, but for example, too, we use our staff will use two different types of little patches, right? We use a thing called pipe patch. We'll use it where we feel the pipe is structurally sound and it just is a little crack. We want to take care of it. Maybe we cut out a root ball and we just want to seal it. But for the most part, in doing our televising and doing our coding, we've determined that the pipe is structurally sound, right? So in that case, we might use a pipe patch. Where in other places, we might use a Q's lock because we need it to be, we need the patch to be structurally supportive. We need it to fill a bigger gap, right? And so we look at it piece by piece. At one time, I was lining sewer laterals, but I felt like where I was at before, it was cheaper for me to just dig it out and replace it. But today we've been having a lot of conversations about going out and speaking to people who sell lateral launches for lining the laterals, because here with the groundwater issues that we deal with, replacing a service can take 3 days. One day just setting up dewatering and getting the ground dry enough for you to dig, right? And so in some cases here, it might be actually more cost beneficial for us to line some of these, right? And there's not a magic answer for it. We take each one of the scenarios on a case-by-case basis. We're not tied to any one technology. It's the technology that fits that application at that moment. And I'm done.
Shu, same question. Well, what kind of determinations does the York region make when deciding on what trenchless technology, method to use, whether it's on the rehabilitation side or on the new installation side?
Yeah, definitely. We are, to start with, we are engineers, right? We are here to solve the problems, and we construct and the infrastructure. And given each project is unique, either rehabilitation or new construction is unique in objectives and challenges. And we, as the owner of, we manage the system. We retain engineering service to help us with the design and construction. However, as the owner of the utility, I think we And I think my team has to really wrap our head around the challenges and objectives, and then put together the RFPs requirements for the engineering team to go through, right? Basically go through the different technologies, the challenges before recommending any type of construction methodologies. I mean, open cast, nothing wrong with it. And it's very conventional, sometimes very, very useful, quick. And but I do see the progress in the use of trenchless technologies over the years, and from the old style tunneling to today's modern construction method. And what I want to say is that as our comfort and familiarity with the trenchless technology continue increase, and we are employing them in very diverse range of applications. They're no longer just reserved for large, deeper applications. And I think we are facing the similar challenges in North America, that the stringent environmental constraints, that heightened customer expectations, right? The increased emphasis on managing the environmental constraints, managing the traffic flows, and minimizing the surface interruption, and maneuvering around existing utilities, and have made the trenchless technology, whatever is applicable there, and is more competitive, right, for our projects, whether it's rehab or new construction. I stop here.
As the name implies, trenchless is new install rehab is a series of different technologies. So, what new technologies related to condition assessment and inspection of infrastructure, particularly in gravity or pressure pipes, do you see that you may already be using, or that could become more relevant in the future? We'll stay with you, Shu, if you could answer that question.
For regions trunk sewer system, and of course we always use started with a CCTV for smaller diameter. For us, if it's a larger diameter, or let's say over 1.2 meter diameter, we start to use more because of the flow, and we use and I don't want this. We call it red zone. It's a service provider from US, and actually, we use them quite a few on few projects, and for trunk sewer system, because of the cost implications, because of the impact to the rest of the system, I think when we make decisions, we can't afford just to make decisions based on the CCTV findings. Over the years, York Region, we have applied the infrastructure management best practice, right? We use the inspection condition assessment to manage the life cycle of the system. And starting with the CCTV findings, we have the decision-making guidelines for us to trigger maybe more frequent inspection, maybe more testing, like H2S monitoring, concrete coring, maybe some structural analysis before we really put our foot down. Yes, we need to repair or line this piece of segment of trunk sewer, which can be up to 3 meters in diameter. Significant undertaking. The flow it's a significant amount. And in terms of the water mains, and our water main the size can up to 1.8 diameter. So the inspection and rehabilitation, not to mention how to repair it, it's just inspect the leakage, and the wire break can be a huge challenge. Over the years, we tried Sahara and the smart ball and the electromagnetic, and for different purposes, different size and different pipe configuration, we tried different technologies. I think there's still a great need for inspection tools and technologies that can operate really under live flow conditions. That's the challenge I see. I stop here.
And Trino, same question to you. What new technologies for condition assessment and inspection for gravity and pressure pipes do you see you may already be using these new technologies, or they could become more relevant in the future? What do you have your eyes on?
So, golly, we do quite a bit when it comes to, reliability centered maintenance and, proactive work. Our focus really is to capture the condition of our system and then use that data in order to make the best decision possible for the repairs that we need to make. Where are we going to have the impact? On the sewer side, we have a group that goes into a sewer shed, for example, and this is a team of people with boots on the ground. They'll start off with one set of people GPSing, survey grade GPS and everything, right? And we get that on the map because we're turning our map into a utility network, and that data accuracy is going to be important. Right behind them, we have another group of people, and they're popping open every single manhole, and they're first doing a visual inspection, and they're giving it some sort of grade, but then they go back in and they're using various POCAMs to televise the manholes, and then we're uploading that type of video into like a program called Sewer AI, which does manhole assessment certification for us, so that our guys don't have to focus on that. They are certified, they can validate, but they don't focus on coding. They focus on collecting the data. And then from there, we have another group of people that come in and they use the sewer line rapid assessment tool, which uses acoustics to determine the level of blockage on the line. That gives us a score, and we begin to input all that into our GIS, and then we light up our GIS like a Christmas tree. Things are red, yellow, green for good, good, fair, bad. And then we begin to first focus on what's bad, and we'll drop our CCTV cameras into every one of these lines and begin to inspect what's going on. We'll use pipe assessment certification. We have Q's cameras, we have subside cameras, but all of it feeds into our sewer AI so that our team is focused on collecting the information. And then from that, we inspect that information to determine what repairs need to happen. Beyond that, we've done some more simplistic things that aren't high tech per se. We still use vacuum testing on manholes. We still use good tried and true smoke testing through sewer mains. And one thing that's interesting that we've done in areas of high corrosion, because as you begin to really take care of your I&I, you change basically the molecule of what's really inside, or the amount of water that's really inside your sanitary sewer system, especially with everybody moving to low flow everything, right? As a conservation method. So we begin pH testing the walls of the concrete, and we'll find areas that are coming up with like a 1 or a 2, which is very acidic, and we start to get them lit up on our GIS, and that lets us know like this is an area of high corrosion and we need to prepare a focus there. On the water side, we're doing different things. We're using satellite leak detection. We're using correlators. We're putting pressure sensors out in places, and then we have a smart metering system, so we're able to verify the data coming in through metering, the data coming in through SCADA, our pressure monitors, where we're having non-revenue water loss, and begin to focus our area of investigation. And then we determine how we're going to fix some of these pipes. And I will share, like during Winter Storm Uri, one of the first times I ever used CIPP on water, we had a ground storage tank, and at the bottom of the ground storage tank, there's the pipe coming out and going off into our distribution, and it cracked right at that that turn, that 90-degree turn, and so we were losing the water on the tank, flooding the top, and fixing that was going to be a challenge. How do you get under a tank? How do you dig under a tank, right? A 5 million gallon ground storage tank. And so then we ended up using cured in place pipe, and we got into the tank and we blew to a certain point. And I'll tell you that thing was done like in a day, and it's held, And so, we've used various technologies to find the problems. And there are other things coming. The artificial intelligence is just popping up everywhere. Analytics is key. Getting the data collected properly, siphoning through making sure that the data you're getting in is quality, so that you can make quality decisions is all key. And so a lot of data analytics now, a lot of AI now, trying to just be more efficient with the technology that's out there for all different aspects. And I guess I'll stop here.
Right. Oh, Webb, I'm not sure if, the area that you cover for Williams gets into any of the condition assessment technologies. Obviously for gas pipeline systems, those are a little bit different. Is this something that you can speak to in terms of Williams?
Yeah, definitely a lot different than Trino and Shoe there. But, condition assessment in the high pressure natural gas world is very important. It's something that there is a lot of emphasis and a lot of focus on in the integrity. We call that the integrity world. We have industry organizations like PRCI, which stands for the Pipeline Research Council International, I believe, that do a lot of extensive research in what we call smart pigging or ILI tools, which is inline inspection tools. And those ILI tools are always evolving. And what I like about that side of the world, you're right, Mike, I don't work in that extensively, but what I have learned from that world is that they continually develop new tools. When they find an issue or find something that's happened, there's a new topic in the pipeline world called hard spots right now. And if you haven't heard it, you're probably about to start hearing about hard spots. Well, these tools are constantly evolving, trying to find better ways to detect and identify these so we can all get better as an industry. So that's all I really have to offer about that, but it's definitely an important field, Mike.
Great. And this kind of speaks to what Trino talked about earlier. Cross borers are dangerous, when it comes to blind boring in general. So, what can a company do to make sure that they haven't cross-bored any utilities, or I guess won't cross-bore any utilities? Webb, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I guess I'll try to speak to the attempting to not cross-bore. I'd have to lean on the other gentleman for how would be best to identify that you didn't cross-bore. When I see that topic, it often makes me think about people that feel like, oh yeah, that would happen, but that would never happen to me, kind of thing. And the one thing that I appreciate recently is cross-bore actually becoming a topic that is discussed. I think we always used to just think, oh yeah, that's a risk, but it wasn't really a commonly used term like cross-bore is now. And I think awareness that, hey, this is a risk and this does happen, and here's pictures of what it looks like when it does happen, or here's pictures of a house after it happens, right? Things of that nature that I think have brought a level of awareness to it that I probably didn't see much of early in my career. We always knew that it was a risk. But I think once you become aware that it is a major risk, I think then it kind of encourages you to step your game up and do everything you can to identify if there's anything there, right? And we all know there's all different levels of effort that goes into subsurface utility engineering, trying to identify everything that's there. And sometimes you feel like you've done good enough, you can't find what you don't know is not there. But just keeping in mind what that risk could entail, what could happen if something were to happen like that. Put your best foot forward to say, hey, let's try to identify all, we know what happens when you assume things, right? Don't assume. If you don't know, then maybe we need to take it a little bit further to truly get a good feel for what's going on. If you think there may be something there, you just don't know exactly how deep it is, let's do some things to try to really find out about that. Let's maybe give some extra factors of safety, separation. Maybe let's look at some survey methods for whatever the trenchless method we're doing. Maybe we need to be using more accurate survey methods. Think about things like that when the situation may arise, and just understand what that risk entails, and let's do what's the right thing to do there.
And Shu, what about from your perspective? What can a company do to make sure they have not cross-border utilities, or what kind of planning goes into making sure that doesn't happen?
Well, my response to this would be, we never learn lessons enough. Same trenchless technology, similar application, but it brings us different challenges and risks. So this is really a planning issue, an engineering issue. I think we really have to for me, every time we do, even we use the same trenchless technology, I constantly talk to the contractors, engineers, and to identify what are the recent projects they've been doing, and to learn from other projects. And secondly, I always we often we push the temporary conditions to contractors, ask them to design and submit for review. I insist on, as an engineer, we better design. We design, which is a part of the risk management. I think every project we have a risk registry through workshops with the system operation, the engineers and the contractors, and maybe other engineers, we put heads together, really wrap our head around the whole thing, and to minimize and the issues we can expect on the site. On top of that, we have to always expect unexpected for a project. And what are the provisions, right? There are lots of things happening around our construction site. And I want to stop here.
Right. And Trino, I guess going back to that force main example earlier, what are some things that you as a system owner, or the contractors working for you, what can they do to minimize or make sure that they don't cross-bore any utilities?
So, the beautiful thing about things going wrong is it broadens your point of view. It lets you consider the things that you didn't consider. It allows you to look at things through a different lens. And there are various ways that Webb and Shu mentioned. You got to use all your technologies. You have to work as a team. So that's the first piece. Everybody brings value to the project that you're working, whether it's something already being built, whether it's something being designed. That is something we do here at Galveston. We now bring every department, every division into every project. Everyone has a say. Everyone looks at it, especially because you have a lot of guys that have that institutional knowledge, that 30-year-old employee that knows that this line is out there because I put it in 25 years ago and it's just not on any map, right? So that's a piece of it. Now, taking care of the information or that you do have, or making it correct. As I mentioned, we're doing boots on the ground GPSing of every single asset: water, wastewater, drainage, streets, street signs, traffic lights, everything, right? So that it's all right and we know what we have, so that when we're designing, we know what we're dealing with. And then deploying just different technologies. So when we came across that cross-bore, we came across that cross-bore because the as-builts were not right. From that point forward, that's become one of the things that we look at now. The as-builts that the contractor is turning into our engineering consultant, and the quality of what's coming over to us. And we're finding in multiple projects that the as-builts are not right. And that's a problem, especially if you're using as-builts as part of the information for your design. doing more survey work. We came across a technology, I believe it's the Q's technology. It's advanced mapping something, AMP. And we ended up hiring a company, I think called PIPC, to come in and GPS that force main that was hit from the inside, right? Which was very interesting, and it brought to our mindset that we probably need to use technologies like that as part of our design process, as well as things like ground penetrating radar and what else is out there. But that allowed us to know exactly how that pipe was ran. And we found that even when it went under and came up and made a turn, that it was still in other parts of that project not designed the way the as-built said. And so even getting through that conflict with our water line, or getting around that conflict, we were going to hit it again elsewhere. And so that technology allowed us to know exactly what we were dealing with, and allowed us to re-engineer the way we were going to use our the way we were going to install our water line, right? And so you have to use everything that's at your fingertips, and a lot of times we don't, because we're just trying to save money. And my opinion on that is, if you can't afford the project, do a different one.
Now, one of the goals of World Trenchless Day is to help make people more aware of trenchless technologies and their benefits. So what can we as an industry do to help it grow? What can we do to spread the message that these technologies are out there and they're proven, and it's something that everybody should be using on their infrastructure? I'll start with you, Trino.
So for me, I mentioned when I first came across trenchless technology in 2009, I was like blown away, right? I was amazed that something like that existed. And I was thinking, why didn't everybody do this? Why didn't everybody know about this? And I wanted to figure out what was going on, right? I wanted to know what was out there. I'm a tech junkie by nature, and I do that with everything that's in electronics. So it was the same thing for me, when it came to renewing the infrastructure. I eventually came across an underground construction technology conference, and I went there and I saw so many different things I never heard of. And I was like, oh my God, how come everybody isn't coming here? How come they aren't using these products at the water shows and the wastewater shows that they always have? It's always the same old product, right? And I guess really to answer your question is like, I've been searching for the different things, and because I'm searching hard and asking questions, I learned I learned of different products which open themselves up to different opportunities. But really, like, having more associations through whatever program spread throughout the different states. I'm here in Galveston, and I don't have any kind of underground association to go to that I could take my people to introduce them to different ways, right? I think we really need to have more conferences, more associations, more opportunity for people to learn. I think also, like a lot of the developers of these different products, a lot of times they're catered only to the contractor, but they should be trying to make a very aggressive move to also come into the different companies and utilities. There's plenty of work for everyone. We can't do it all. There's some jobs that need to be contracted out, right? And I think that if they spent time coming around sharing the opportunities that are available for us, that would be very beneficial. I'll stop there.
Great, thanks. Webb, same question. What can we do as an industry to help it grow and get this message out there?
Yeah, 100% what Trino said. I mean, I couldn't agree more. I see kind of the same thing with the there's one thing, Mike, Trenchless Technology, what you're doing today, this panel, this webinar here, I mean, I think that's great. I think things like this is what really, really getting the word out, inviting as many people as you can, getting panel members like Trino and Shu to be here to speak from a municipal standpoint helps the industry as a whole. I see this as we as owners, we rely on so many people, from contractors to engineering consultants to equipment providers to suppliers to, you name it. All these different entities have to come together to deliver products for us. But where's the component, like Trino said, where the owners are getting involved in learning what some of these things are? I think UCT, I know North American Society of Trenchless Technology, the American Society of Civil Engineers has a pipelines program, but Trenchless Technology and the organization you guys have really gives it a good opportunity. I think if one thing I would think of that I just thought about as Trino was talking is if there was a way for Trenchless Technology to go to some of the wastewater type events where most of the owners, but I think the challenge is how do you speak to a bunch of different owners? Do you go to every city in America and try to spread the word? That could be very challenging, right? But if there are big events where you're getting a lot of the major players together, maybe there's a forum there to kind of start spreading the word. And at the end of the day, I think I'm a big believer in diverse perspectives and getting people from all walks of life, contractors, engineers, owners, getting everybody together to discuss these things. I think the best ideas and the best path forward will come out of that. So,
great. Thank you for that great response. And Shu, will finish it up with you. And what can the industry do to help it grow? And maybe in Canada, there's some other opportunities or other challenges too.
Definitely, and with the challenges of York Region's system, and so I'm more than interested in knowing all the latest development, right? For structural repair, the inspection of water mains. Basically, I'm fully open-minded to the new technologies. Unfortunately, I don't see many and contractors or service providers in Canada, and hopefully there are more technologies, tools coming to Canada, more contractors to bring your expertise to the industry here, and I'm waiting I'm willing to work with collaborating with the contractors and engineers and from all over the world to really advance the practice here in the industry. That's all what I can say.
Well, thank you very much. That was a great answer, and I'm always amazed when we do these webcasts at the quality of questions that come in from our audience. Unfortunately, we had more questions than we could address today during the panel discussion. Try to get as many of these addressed offline via email after today's session. Thank you to Shu, Trino, and Webb for your insight, and thank you to the NESTT No-Dig Show, Max Liner, IPEX, Q's, and Applied Felts for sponsoring the webcast. I'd also like to thank all of our attendees. I guess kind of piggybacking off of the comments to that last question about what we can do as an industry. Municipalities, government agencies, and utility owners, were you aware that there's an NESTT No-Dig Show Municipal and Public Utility Scholarship? It was created just for you. The scholarship provides education and training for those who have limited or no travel funds due to restricted budgets. The scholarship includes a full conference registration, full access to exhibits and technical sessions, and overnight accommodations. The deadline to apply is November 1st. For more information, visit nast.org/no-dig-show/municipal-scholarships. I also like attendees to be on the lookout for information on our next live webcast. In December, we plan to discuss infrastructure funding with a focus on the American Rescue Plan and the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Acts. Now, as many of you have probably been waiting for, on to the 2022 Trenchless Technology Project of the Year Awards. Awarded annually since 1993, the Trenchless Technology Project of the Year award is one of the most highly coveted and prestigious trenchless industry project awards. Like the Trenchless Technology team would like to thank everyone who submitted projects this year. We had many great submissions. The winners are chosen based on technical advancement, technical complexity, milestones and records achieved, interaction and cooperation, and advancement of the trenchless industry. Judging for the awards is completed by a new installation committee and a rehabilitation committee, each comprised of experts representing a cross-section of the trenchless industry. Our new installation category honorable mention projects are the PacWave South Offshore Wave Energy Test Facility. The project owner is Oregon State University. Engineer, the HDD company, Jacobs, Macaulay Trenchless, and Campos EPC. The contractor was the HDD company. Our other honorable mention goes to the Dominion Energy lines 2184 and 2185 Gainesville Haymarket Underground Transmission Line project. Project owner is Dominion Energy. The engineer is Laney Directional Drilling Company and Power Engineers. Contractor on the project, Laney Directional Drilling Company, Wilson Construction, and Interra Innovation, Inc. Our Trenchless Technology New Installation Project of the Year runner-up is the Water Down to Finch 63-kilometer NPS 12 pipeline replacement project. The project owner is Imperial Oil, majority owned by ExxonMobil Corporation. Engineer on the project is Universal Pegasus International, serving as the lead engineer and contractor. Contractors on the project are Somerville AECon Joint Venture and Michaels Canada. And our 2022 Trenchless Technology Project of the Year for new installation is the North Bakken Expansion Lake Sakakawea HDD in Waterford City, North Dakota. This dramatic 15,426-foot, 24-inch HDD crossing utilized the intersect method to cross Lake Sakakawea at a depth of more than 300 feet. The purpose of the project was to construct a natural gas pipeline to reduce natural gas flaring in the area. The route would connect WBI's Tioga Compressor Station near Tioga, North Dakota, with the North Border Pipeline Company's main line at a new interconnection point south of Waterford City. Above all its challenges, this project demonstrates the crucial collaboration between the owner, WBI Energy, the engineer, CCI and Associates, and the HDD contractor, Michaels Trenchless, to create a design to make this project successful. Moving on to our rehabilitation projects of the year. Honorable mention goes to the M29 Outfall Improvements Project. The project owners are the Pittsburgh Water and Sewer Authority and the Allegheny County Sanitary Authority. Engineer is Johnson, Mirmarin, and Thompson, Inc., and contractor is Allison Park Contractors. The other honorable mention for rehabilitation goes to the Stamford Interceptor Phase 2 Trunk Sewer Rehabilitation Project. Project owner is the Niagara region in Ontario, Canada. Engineer is Robinson Consultants. Contractors were Liquiforce and Instituform Technologies. Our rehabilitation project of the year runner-up is the 66-inch Trunk Sewer Rehabilitation Project. Project owner is the Napa Sanitation District in Napa, California. Engineer, Woodard & Curran. Contractor, SAK Construction. Without further ado, this year's Trenchless Technology Project of the Year for rehabilitation is the City of Houston's 60-inch sanitary sewer spin cast lining project. Like many of North America's long-established metropolitan centers, the City of Houston is engaged in actively combating its aging infrastructure problems. One such section is a 2.8-mile stretch of 60-inch reinforced concrete pipe that was found to be showing signs of deterioration in 2018. The problem? Much of the pipe was under the heavily traveled Houston Metro Rail Red Line, and shutting down the trains was not an option. Offset manholes meant the cured-in-place pipe would not work. Instead, Houston's wastewater operations branch looked to a spray-applied geopolymer mortar structural rehabilitation solution from Quadex Lining Systems and the Vortex companies. Congratulations to all of these winners. To read more about these projects, be on the lookout for our October issue in the mail or email soon. We will begin accepting submissions for the 2023 awards in October. Those are open to North American projects completed between June 17, 2022 and June 16, 2023. Visit trenchlesstechnology.com, click on the awards tab to take you to the Project of the Year submission page. One last note that I mentioned earlier, in honor of World Trenchless Day, Trenchless Technology reached out to the industry and asked for people to submit brief videos with their World Trenchless Day messages. Many great companies, organizations, and individuals stepped up and submitted a video. I encourage you to go to our YouTube page to check all of those out. We told our followers to like, forward, and share their videos to help spread the word about the benefits of trenchless technology on World Trenchless Day. The video that garnered the most social activity, likes, shares, views, retweets, etc., was HDR. Let's watch their video now.
Day one of our trenchless crossing for this river. It's some hard rock, but we're halfway there. And we're done. It's like we never touched it.
Congratulations again, HDR. Thank you for all the companies who shared videos with us for World Trenchless Day. And as I mentioned, go to our YouTube, the Trenchless Technology YouTube page to watch all of the submissions. This concludes today's Trenchless Technology World Trenchless Day celebration webcast. Happy World Trenchless Day, everybody. If there is something you missed or would like to reference, today's webinar will be archived at trenchlesstechnology.com/webinars. As a reminder, any views or opinions presented in today's webinar are solely those of the presenters and do not necessarily represent those of Benjamin Media, Inc., nor does Benjamin Media, Inc. endorse any products or methods presented. Thank you again to our panelists. Thank you again to our sponsors. Thank you again to our attendees. Happy World Trenchless Day. Have a great day, everyone. We'll see you on the next webcast.